Last year I went on a cruise with my family and got really in my head. The backdrop of this story is privilege. Let's be clear about that. But I came away with some thoughts that I think are worth sharing because they've led to some newfound joy and peace in my life. So, if you're cool to chill with me here at the top of the hierarchy of needs for a minute, please lend me your ear and I will tell you my tale. It was October 2023 and my parents invited me and my siblings to celebrate their 35th anniversary with them on a cruise all together, which was really sweet. It was a New England cruise, so ports including Boston, Portland, Bar Harbor, Nova Scotia. So obviously I was going to get way into my feels. First of all, it's a cruise, so this boat is full of couples, and if you're a single person, or ever have been a single person, which I assume everyone has, you know that that's enough to just shove you deep into your head. Add on top of that the bleak weather and northeastern scenery, and then add on top of that the fact that I was reading Dostoevsky at the time, and you've got your recipe for some dangerously deep introspection. So I pretty much knew immediately that I was going to write some kind of essay, but the essay I started writing on that boat is not what I have come away with now, and not the video that you're watching. I think it's helpful background though to the story I am going to tell. So here's the idea that I thought I would explore, but in the process ended up wrecking my fragile self-image. There were a lot of mirrors on the cruise ship at all different angles, I assume to make the cramped cabin spaces feel a little more spacious. So me, in all my brilliance, I decided, I will make a video essay about perceptions, namely the dichotomy between how I perceive myself and how I'm perceived by others. The front angle of the mirror versus the side angle. Kind of a clever subject, I thought. So I began writing it and pondering what my conclusion would be. I chatted with my family about it and started to perceive everything through the lens of perceptions. The subject broadened before my eyes and I quickly found myself drowning in deep waters. I decided an interesting supplement would be to write down a list of how I perceive myself, qualities, and side by side write down how I think others perceive me. Of course, that second part is mostly guesswork, but I included some funny stories and anecdotes that I think painted a pretty convincing picture. It was at this point in the process, I think, that something unexpected started to happen in my thoughts. The idea kind of took over, and I totally lost control of where it was going to take me. I ended up losing interest in actually writing an essay and just became kind of obsessed with this idea and following it into the depths of my own shadow. For those of you who took a psychology class in college, what I'm about to describe is probably going to be pretty easy to recognize and categorize for you, but I had not taken a psychology course in college, and anytime my friends brought up Freud or Jung, I pretty much just said, I'm a Freud, you're too Jung for Deez nuts. So I was pretty freaked out when all this happened. And if you're like me and you haven't taken a psychology class and you don't care much about Jung or Freud, then here's what happened in my regular guy terms. I wrote this on October 28th, 2023, when I sort of bottomed out mentally and had no clue what was going on. And warning, it's going to sound like the introduction to some post-apocalyptic young adult novel from 2013. I was not intending to share it with anybody when I wrote it. It was very personal and stream of consciousness. So anyways, here it is. I think I might be starting to go kind of crazy, and I'm not sure why. I've been digging really deep into my mind and so much of what I've been chasing is losing its color to me. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I want to be noticed. I hate that, and I don't want that to be me. I hate compromising. I'm compromising, but also I'm scared of so much right now. I'm scared of trying, and working hard sounds awful. And I'm lonely, but also feel that I cannot handle a relationship. And I'm 100% sure about God, but still life somehow feels meaningless. But I don't want it to end. I think I'm having a crisis and wondering if what I wanted is still what I want. I'm not sure. Life is so blessed, but I'm not enjoying it. I'm going to take a nap. And I did take a nap. And I felt a little bit better when I woke up. And I slowly started to unpack whatever was happening. Before I move on to explaining more of the technical terms for what I think happened, I feel the need to tie more of a bow on my thoughts about perceptions, which are, they don't matter. Hardly at all. I think I've decided that I view them as an unnecessary middleman between me and the actual virtues that I desire to possess. I wasted so much time through my entire adolescence trying to cultivate the appearance of something good rather than the actual thing. I'm not sure how I got that twisted, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's done that. And in October of 2023, I suddenly found myself somewhere in New England without either the moral facade that I had been trying to construct or the actual virtues that it was meant to replace. Buck naked in the cold. All my efforts wasted and feeling like I was seeing myself clearly for the first time in a long time and not liking what I was seeing. So if you get anything from this video, let it be this. Perception is not reality. I think you have to believe that reality will shape perceptions, even if it never feels true, or you will end up being nothing but a shell. Uncomfortable honesty time. There was a me that I wanted to be so badly that I had almost convinced myself that I was him. He is the smartest guy in the room. He is funny and clever and witty and quick on his feet. He loves people deeply and freely. He's selfless. He's above average in attractiveness. He's above average in talent. He is a lot like Jesus Christ. And he's a lot better than most people. And he is not me. Not even close. It's embarrassing to drag this all out into the light. But I genuinely believed these things about myself to some degree, somewhere deep in my silly brain. Can you believe that? Do you believe some of these things about yourself? I sincerely hope that they're true for you. They are not true of me. The reality is I'm not nearly as funny, clever, loving, selfless, attractive, talented, or Christ-like as I thought I was. Even more importantly, I am not better than anybody. In fact, from all I can gather, I think I might be worse than most. And all these things are easy to say, right? And I have before. But it's another thing to feel them, you know? And to suddenly know in your gut that they're true. And that's where I was at on that boat. That cruise ship was full of gluttonous, privileged, ignorant, selfish tourists, and I was one of them. And I knew it. And I still am. Blessed, blistering reality. In the process of writing this video, I read the article for The Shadow Psychology on Wikipedia, and suddenly felt like this video was way less necessary or special. So if you're interested in learning about what I'm talking about in a more scientific way, then basically just go read that. But I still think there's value in explaining things from a more personal and anecdotal perspective. I learn more from novels than from textbooks. So, if you're like me, then stick around. I'm about to explain something really complex as I understand it, which basically means that it will probably be wrong, but maybe still useful to you somehow. So basically, your shadow is the part of you that you are not aware of. It's the part of you that you hide from yourself. It's the part of you that you see clearly in others, but you don't see in yourself. The plank in your eye for my Jesus heads out there. Some of us may be able to go our whole lives without ever acknowledging it, but most of us at one point or another are going to have to tango with the Rango, or your shadow in this scenario. Sometimes it takes you over and you become Dark Link version of yourself. That's worst case scenario, you gotta be careful of that. But sometimes you encounter it and you interact with it in a positive way, and you even integrate with it in a positive way, like Scott Pilgrim at the end of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where he befriends the dark version of himself. That's best case scenario. That's what I'm striving for. I'm definitely having ups and downs. My first step in this process was hating myself. Really letting myself look at all that dark stuff that I had done, and all the failures and mistakes and pain I'd caused, and just hating it and mourning it. That may not really sound like growth, but it really was for me. You don't hate something that you haven't acknowledged, and you can't mourn something that you don't accept. For me, accepting the reality of me had to start with learning to hate myself. Maybe that's wrong, but it's where it needed to start with me. I think hating yourself comes more naturally to some people, and if that's you, then way to go. Good for you. You're ahead of me there, and I hope that you make it to a place of love eventually. I just came into this world thinking I was God's gift to humanity for some reason, so this is what I needed. Do I despair of life? Hell no. I love being alive. I want to keep living. I just want to do it better. Am I losing my way? Probably. Let me double down. Have you ever participated in confession? It's one of the common sacraments across basically every Christian tradition. Confessing our sins to one another is one of the primary practices of the church. Not only that, but it's meant to be incorporated into a Christian's daily meditations and prayer life. Now, some people see this as a harmful religious tool used to keep people submissive to authority and laden with guilt and shame. And while it has been used that way, that is a total travesty. As a Bible lover and Jesus head myself, I see so much psychological usefulness in confession. When done properly and as intended, confession creates an environment in which individuals can attempt to peer into their shadows in the presence of friends and family and receive love and acceptance even as they uncover some of the darkest truths about themselves. It can be so beautiful, and I've witnessed it. In addition to all that, when incorporated into a daily personal meditation, you are literally endeavoring to, every day, encounter your shadow, mourn it, receive God's love and forgiveness exemplified in the cross, and allow that to empower you to forgive yourself and forgive everyone around you. The gospel is that God has seen every bit of you from day one, shadow included, and still chose to love and forgive you. I'll end my sermon there, but I do want to mention in passing that every spiritual truth I mention in these videos, I will always try to explain hand in hand with the sociological and psychological benefits that I believe come intrinsically with them. I think it all weaves together, and it's one of the big reasons why I believe. Surprise! I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. Actually happier than I ever have been. That seems counterintuitive, right? Yeah, it does for me too. looking intently at how poopy you are and feeling happy.
You're gonna suffer, but you're gonna be happy about it.
Yeah, basically. I think when I really embraced this idea of acknowledging the dark parts of me, I realized how much energy I'd been putting into trying to avoid them. How much mental gymnastics I'd been performing. Lying to yourself takes a lot of energy, guys. It's kind of nice not thinking you're the chosen one. Not even that special. It takes a lot of pressure off that I didn't know I was putting on. And I'm not saying that I'm not special. The reality is I might be really special. It's just that at this point in my life, it's not useful to me to believe that about myself, whether it's true or not. I've been finding a lot of comfort and joy in aligning my self-image with the reality of my situation as just another member of the unwashed masses, stepping down off of my imaginary pedestal and putting on my mental civilian clothes. In a way, my own psychological incarnation or integration. Who knew there was such a big pocket of peace and joy hidden in embracing my inner normie? So the last piece of this convoluted puzzle that I believe makes this story worth telling is this. I think I'm starting to gain more traction in really loving people. This is really important to me because I believe that loving is the meaning of life. God, then people. And part of my crisis in October was realizing that I kind of suck at loving. What's supposed to be my number one mission in life is kind of my weakest spot. But the unexpected part of acknowledging the plank in my eye was suddenly finding that I didn't see quite as much bad in others. Or maybe I still see it, but instead of judging it, I just relate to it more. I see more of myself when I see the dark in others. And love is blossoming just a little bit more easily than it used to. I've got a hell of a long way to go. Integration is a long process, and to be clear, I have had moments like this before. I've had many little crises, but this one was just really big and isolated and beautiful, so I thought it was worthy of making a little video essay about. I'm actually not even sure that making this video was the right move. These are really high level concepts that I have no right to be talking about. So, take everything in this video with a big old grain of salt and feel very free to roll your eyes at me. Please feel free. I tend to learn something and then try to start teaching it to others before I fully understand it. But I got some sick footage on the cruise and I had to use it for something, so. Well, that was all really embarrassing. What do you think? Am I way off base? Am I out of line? Please let me know. I hope maybe this is helpful for some of you, and I know for sure it won't be helpful for a lot of you. There's no silver bullet for living well. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So, if it is helpful, I'm glad. If it's not, please trash it. There's no textbook for how you're supposed to grow. I'm just mapping my little corner of human experience, and you could be totally on the other side of the globe from there. Or not. Alright, enough disclaimers. Thank you for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Can you relate to anything I said in the video? Did you like the footage? When was your last identity crisis? I'd love to hear all about it. And if you liked this kind of video, please subscribe. I'm going to be making more. So, alright. Bye.